Menus, shortcuts, and toolbars are meant to help you with productivity, to help you do things faster. And many of them are already built into ACT, as we've seen in this training. And most of what you need is probably already there. But everybody uses ACT in a little bit different way. So you may want to customize your menus and toolbars. And so we're going to take a look at how we might customize the toolbars. And again, this is more of an art than it is a science, but once you know where the tools are, then you can apply those to your own particular situation. So what we're going to do is go up to the File menu and click on Tools, and then we're going to come down almost to the bottom of the list where it says Customize, and let that open up, and then we're going to go to Menus and Toolbars, and click on Menus and Toolbars. That brings up the Customize Menus and Toolbars dialog box. And the Customize Menus and Toolbars dialog box has 5 tabs. The first tab that we're on is Toolbars, which indicates which toolbars are listed. And typically what people need are just the connected menus and the contact detail toolbar. Those are the ones that we've been using. But let's say that you decide that you're going to use ACT in a task-oriented fashion. Remember, we talked about the fact, are you using it as task-oriented or are you using it as contact-oriented? Let's say you decide you're going to use it as a task-oriented person. Then you might click on Task List and get a whole new toolbar. Notice that we have a toolbar now that has to do with different tasks, different ways to remember things. We've got now the toolbar that has to do with all the different tasks that we do in ACT. Now, this toolbar has some of the same tools that we had in the previous toolbar, in the contact detail toolbar, but it also has some others. And the point is, you can put it anywhere you want. We can click on it and drag it out, and now we've got our task list toolbar that we can put literally anywhere we want. We can stick it down here at the bottom, we could pick it back up and just float it out in the middle of the screen. Whatever works best for you is what you're going to want to do with an additional toolbar. So that's one way that you can customize your toolbars, is to add additional toolbars. Another way that we can do it is to add commands to existing toolbars. So we click on Commands, and on the Commands tab, then we have all the different categories of toolbars. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the File. Okay, this is the File menu. And if you notice, the File menu is what we've been looking at. We've got all these different tools that are on the File menu. Notice that we have a tool up here to open files, and we have a tool to save files. Do we have a tool to close a file? No, we don't, but we have one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this tool and then drag it up, and as soon as we see that I-beam, then we can just let it go, and notice then that we have placed that tool into the toolbar. Now, we can do this with all of the different toolbars that are in ACT. And you'll notice that we have all these different tools that we can choose from. As we said, some of this might be overkill, right? Some of this might be, well, I already have that tool in another place and I already use it. Well, that's fine. Then don't use that one. So we can make these changes and then make ourselves more productive, or just experiment with it. The third tab is Options. Just as Windows does, since ACT runs through Windows, it has the capability to personalize your menus and toolbars. In other words, if you get huge toolbars where there's no way it can put all of that information on, then it has this arrow, right? This arrow that indicates that there's more there. Well, if we click on the arrow, on that double arrow, then it will show us. We'd have to close out of this particular dialog box, which I'm not going to do right now, but you know if you double click on that arrow, it'll show you more options that are in that toolbar. Well, how does it determine what it shows you in the first place? Well, that's because of your usage data. In other words, it remembers what you used. Windows remembers what you've used last, and it'll display that for you first. In other words, it'll display that in the main menu so that you don't have to click on the double arrows as much. We can reset the usage data right here. By clicking on Reset Usage Data, basically what we're saying is forget about all that stuff you know about what we already did. We can also have other settings like show tooltips on menus and toolbars. If the tooltips are irritating to you, you can take the tooltips out. If we want to show shortcut keys on the tooltips to remind ourselves of the shortcut keys, some people are mouse oriented and some people are keyboard oriented. I'm mouse oriented. Anything I can click on, I'd rather click on it than remember some keyboard commands. But some people are very keyboard oriented, so they want to know that there are some shortcuts there as well. We'll talk about keyboard shortcuts in just a minute, but if we want to show those shortcut keys on the tooltips, then we could choose to show the shortcut keys on the tooltips as well, just by clicking in that box. We can also choose the menu animation. Menu animation in Windows by default just fades in, but we can have it do other fancy things if we want to, like random or an unfold or a slide or whatever we want. I usually leave it just system default.